Hey, hello guys. Today we are going to say something very quickly about the pathogenesis of COPD. See, whenever there is any exposure to a noxious particle or gas, like a person is smoking, and if the person is genetically susceptible, he is having alpha antitrypsin deficiency or a serpina gene mutation. Whenever there is serpina gene mutation, there is epoxide hydroxylase which is not produced properly. These epoxide hydroxylase are the enzymes which are responsible for breakage of epoxides. So when these epoxides are not broken down properly due to the serpin gene mutation, so there is accumulation of reactive epoxide intermediates. This accumulation of reactive epoxide intermediates leads to oxidative stress. So there is imbalance in the oxidant and antioxidant mechanisms in the body. Any pathogenesis for that matter is basically an imbalance between the offensive and the defensive mechanisms. Whenever the offensive mechanism overtakes the defensive mechanism, there sets in the pathology. So now the offensive mechanism here is the oxidative stress. Whenever the oxidative stress is there, there is trigger in the inflammatory cascade, leading to accumulation of neutrophils, lymphocytes, and macrophages. This inflammatory mediators that are coming in the inflammatory cascades are easily remembered by writing down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 serially. 2 looks like alpha, so this is TNF alpha. 4, leukotriene B4. 6, interleukin 6. 8, interleukin 8. 10, interleukin 10. Okay, then neutrophils also produce proteolytic enzymes like elastase, protease, cathepsin B, cathepsin G, matrix metalloproteases, which are numbered 12 and 14, MMP12 and MMP14. Apart from this, there is CD8 also involved in the pathogenesis, which produces perforin and granzymes. These perforin and granzymes are responsible for damage to the lung parenchyma, and CD4, which is responsible for autoimmune mechanisms of the COPD. Oxidative stress not only activates the proteases but it also inactivates the antiproteases, basically switching off the defensive mechanisms and promoting the offensive mechanisms because of the oxidative stress. All of this damages the lung as a whole. In the lung, there is parenchyma, there is airway, and there is vasculature. So now either the parenchyma can get damaged, or the airway can get damaged, or the vasculature can get damaged. See, when there is oxidative stress, what happens to the growth factors? There is excessive release of growth factors, right? So the parenchyma can undergo fibrosis because of this increased growth factor synthesis. And there is apoptosis. Parenchymal cells can undergo apoptosis. Collagen is not formed properly because of the oxidative stress. So repair mechanisms, whenever there is damage, the repair mechanisms have to work properly so that the damage is recovered. But here, due to defective collagen synthesis, the repair mechanisms are not proper, hence parenchyma undergoes damage. And there is also alveolar epithelial injury, alveolar membrane lipid oxidation, which ultimately results in airway compromise. And there is mucus hypersecretion, which clogs the airways. See, when the elastin is proper, the airway counter is proper, so the air flows freely through that airway. But if the elastin is damaged due to the elastase, the airway loses its counter. Airway becomes somewhat like this zigzag manner. Now, when the air enters in such an airway where the counter is lost, the air undergoes trapping. There is air trapping. This leads to hyperinflation of the lungs. Okay, because of the air trapping. What happens to the vasculature? Within the vasculature, whenever there is a noxious stimuli, the pulmonary vasculature undergo reflex vasoconstriction. So there is vasoconstriction of the pulmonary vasculature, and the intimal cells undergo hyperplasia, and the smooth muscles undergo hypertrophy. So pulmonary vasculature, smooth muscle hypertrophy, and pulmonary vessel intimal cell hyperplasia, all of this lead to pulmonary hypertension. Okay, so basically in the pathogenesis of COPD, what happens is the parenchyma and airway are damaged due to the oxidative stress, leading to compromise in the proper space that is available for ventilation. So there is increased dead space ventilation, the respiratory drive comes down, so there is CO2 retention. Because of the damage to the parenchyma and the airway, there is increased dead space ventilation and CO2 retention. This CO2 retention causes increased ventilatory effort. Now we have to take an extra effort to remove this CO2, right? So increased ventilatory effort and hyperinflation of the lungs. Finally, ventilatory dysfunction or the respiratory failure. So all of this is involved in the pathogenesis of COPD.